Welcome to The Better Life with Dr. Marianne Pinkston. Join Dr. Pinkston today as she teaches you how an integrative approach to health, combining holistic and contemporary medical information, can lead you to the better life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Marianne Pinkston.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Marianne Pinkston, and today I'm going to bring you another wonderful episode that will talk a little bit about nutrition, longevity, living longer, living healthier. It's something that everybody's always interested in. And so today's program will feature Dr. William Hsu, who is the Chief Medical Officer from L-Nutra. Now, I've highlighted L-Nutra before and talked about the fasting mimicking diet with Prolon, which has been a great program. And I enjoy having you folks from L-Nutra on to talk about it because this is a fantastic program. I'm sure we'll touch on all of that as well. But L-Nutra is a company in nutrition, longevity, and I am so happy to have you here. Dr. Hsu, welcome in. Thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much, Marianne. It's great to be on your show.
Thank you. Well, tell me, first of all, a little bit about you and the company, but how you wound up in such a place and your passion and all.
Yeah, this really dates back about 6 years ago. So I'm a endocrinologist who specializes in hormones and especially in metabolic health. And I used to work at a place called Joslin Diabetes Center up in Boston, which is one of the oldest diabetes institutions around the world.
Absolutely.
And as part of a Harvard medical school. I had always been looking for a solution to age-related problems such as metabolic health, in metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes. And for the longest time, we've had so many drugs. In fact, we have 12, 13 different categories of diabetes medicine. After taking care of patients, doing research and teaching medical students for about 20, 25 years, I felt like we're really not actually addressing the root cause of these problems.
Absolutely.
And then back then, I saw a paper that was published in Cell which is a scientific sort of publication that showcased how FMD potentially in animal models was able to regenerate beta cells. These are the cells that make insulin that was responsible for diabetes. And I said, hey, how is it possible that nutrition intervention in animal models at the time was able to reverse type 2 diabetes? To me, I say, if I could bring this to humanity, if I could make this available to millions and millions of people who are either struggling with diabetes or pre-diabetes or any other metabolic health issues, would that be the biggest impact I can bring through my profession? And so the rest is history.
Absolutely. There you go. Which is where, and I have told patients many times because, diabetes was worked up as, something that is very detrimental to health. But I have proposed that pre-diabetes or insulin resistance in our metabolic health is probably more dangerous and more important. I mean, the endpoint is the same, whether you are diagnosed with diabetes, which is an arbitrary number, A1C of 6.5 and above. I know it's well studied that way, but still to me, in my mind, it's arbitrary. What's the difference between 6.4, 6.5 really? I feel like that the endpoint is the same and that diabetics often get treatment, which helps in turn maybe reduce their issues long term, but pre-diabetics don't. And don't get the education, the nutrition support, the medications if needed and whatnot. So that's kind of been my thought. And I don't know if that's something you agree with, but metabolic health now is with all of the GLPs and the compounding pharmacies and the pharmaceutical companies and has become such a highlight. And now I think the microscope is on the pre-diabetes or insulin resistance. And I think we're taking a fair hit at it. I don't know if you agree.
It's a continuum, from healthy to pre-diabetes to diabetes. In fact, there was a recent paper show that merely 6.8% of all Americans are cardiometabolically healthy. 6.8%.
Yes.
That means 93% of us are not healthy. So what that means is having a normal blood pressure, normal blood glucose, normal cholesterol level, normal weight, and no history of heart diseases. Just these 5 factors.
Right.
Only 6.8% of all Americans are healthy.
That's
So we're talking about, and that's crazy. In fact, when you think about the advances that we have and so on and so forth. I mean, we're living in the 21st century here, right? The most advanced country in the whole world, yet 93% of all of the population not healthy. Right. And so that really is an accusation to the healthcare system, where we've been focusing so much on treating the disease rather than preventing them from happening. And that's why I wanted to be in the business of root cause prevention. And that's why I came to L-Nutra.
Wonderful. So that, the fasting mimicking diet is part of L-Nutra's format now. And so what else is involved at L-Nutra?
No. So when you think about L-Nutra, really is a company, it's a medical nutrition company that is rooted in the belief that addressing the root cause of many chronic illnesses really has to start with addressing age or aging process. I think a lot of us don't develop health conditions until we're older. Why? Because when you're young, the body is more resilient, is able to fix many of the issues. Give you one example. College students don't take care of themselves in terms of their diet. They sleep late. Right? They drink too much alcohol. I'm generalizing.
Yeah, it's true.
But people don't develop these age-related conditions at that time. They don't struggle with hypertension, most of them, right? The diabetes don't occur until probably 40s and 50s, because now as we age, we lose our ability to heal. Right. So L-Nutra always has been looking for solutions that look at the very root cause of these issues, which is aging is primary. And the way we go about doing that is really by looking at how do we hack nutrition. Nutrition for a long time has been, right, obviously is something that we eat every day, right? It's something that has the most effect. But if we ask people to be a saint in order to live better and live longer, that that most of us couldn't be a saint to begin with. That's why we have 70% overweight or obesity. If the solution is still the same of eating well every single day, so be a saint, therefore you could live longer, then we're doing the same thing while expecting a different result. And someone put that as a definition of insanity, right? Exactly. And so L-Nutra is always looking for what are some of the ways where can we manipulate nutrients or body's ability to perceive nutrients to drive healthcare outcomes. So the fasting mimicking diet is a perfect example of that, right? It's a 5-day structural meal kit where when you consume what's in the box, it mimics the benefits of a prolonged 5-day fast, but it provides stealth nutrition so that your body doesn't detect the nutrients. So what does that mean? You get the benefits of a prolonged fasting while your body is getting nutrients. Right. It's that kind of hack. It's the idea of consuming 5 days of nutrition intervention can overcome the poor diet for the rest of 25 days. Now, the concept isn't that the rest of 25 days isn't important, right? But it's a pragmatic approach to our societal problem. Right. If you ask people to be good with their diet for 30 days out of the month, sounds great, but it's not happening. But if you were to ask, if you were to give me 5 days per month, and just for a couple of cycles to drive health outcomes, would you be willing to do that? And most people will say yes.
Absolutely. Now, I don't know if you are aware or not, but I was 300 pounds at one point, diabetic, cancer, hypertension, bad cholesterol, the whole bit, and running a weight loss clinic at the same time. So I'm sitting in front of patients telling them, how to live healthy and better and longevity and weight loss. And I'm thinking this is not consistent with really good care, not following your own advice. And for my children, everything else. And in the 8 years that it's taken me to get down now to 120, lose 180 pounds and get my health back and whatnot, it has taken me, and talk about being a saint. No, Definitely not, but I've done it more than, more days out of the month or the year or whatnot than not. But I still have difficulties, even though I eat very well, exercise very well, I still have difficulties with insulin resistance. It's still there, it's still like a phantom.
Yeah.
And so, it is not something that, being a saint is not something that is going to perfect your life. It is something not humanly possible. Now in my weight loss clinics, I talk with people about being good and what that means. And then, the self-sabotage that people do when they talk to themselves that they failed or they give themselves the guilt trip or, that's a very important part of health and losing weight and all for patients. And so to add to your point there, that's a very, very well said. And I think it's a great opportunity for people to make a change.
And this is why we need tools. We need innovations, not only in pharmaceuticals. I mean, there's a place for that. But for many people, if they could have a tool that works, if they have a tool that doesn't involve medications, if they have a tool that activates their own body's ability to heal, and it doesn't take every day for the rest of your life, that's the kind of the tool that we need in the 21st century. Everybody's too busy, preoccupied, and so on and so forth. Right. So that's our flagship technology, the fasting mimicking diet. But along the same line, we have many other products that takes the same philosophy. How do we provide pragmatic solution? How do we evade nutrient censoring? How do we provide nutrients that gives you the benefits, but still drive some of the benefits from fasting? That's one. So that's why we have a product called Reset that simulates a 1 day worth of fasting. Wow. We have bars and drinks. We call the intermittent fasting bar, intermittent fasting shake. That when you consume that, the body doesn't recognize it as nutrition, so you can actually practice intermittent fasting very, very effectively. Okay. But that's one part of the story, because when you fast, no matter how long it is, what it does is really it limits nutrients, and then it allows the body to rest. It's like a racing car driving very fast. And that's I think that's our lives, right? We're running around all the time. We're eating all the time. We have so much nutrients. The racing car needs a pit stop from time to time to do what? To replace the tires that got worn out during the race. Right. And fasting is that component of that. However, that's half the story, because when you think about fasting, what it does, it takes the older parts of the components of the body and replaces with new parts through cellular autophagy, especially with the 5-day fast. Sure. But that's breaking down. That's taking the old parts out. But there is the second part, which is really the building part. I use the example, like I live in the New England area, and so in the winter it's very cold. Let's say if my thermostat breaks down and it's too cold, and I have a fireplace, which I haven't used in a long time, because if I got a heater, right? So what do? I mean, you throw some stuff into the fireplace to warm your family up so you can survive the night. That's like fasting, right? Like you don't have food, so what do? The cell says, well, I've got some older parts and misfolded proteins and older mitochondria inside my cells. I got to survive. So how am I going to do this? Well, I'm going to chew them up, recycle them as a source of energy. Right. But I'm not going to recycle the most helpful, the youngest part of the cells, the most efficient molecules, because that would be foolish. Right. The cells honed in on those older, more malfunction parts of the cells and chew them up as a source of energy. We call that autophagy. Right. That is half the story, because now when food becomes available, so what are you going to do? You're gonna actually make new ones to replace the old ones. It's like the analogy in the cold winter. What did I throw into the fireplace? It's never going to be my most expensive furniture. Right. It's gonna be that wobbly chair that's I can live without it. It won't hurt so bad. Sure. Survival is more important. Right. So, but now once you burn off those stools and chairs and older parts and older furnitures, now the electrician comes, or whoever comes, fix that HVAC. What do you do with the chairs? You buy new ones to replace them. Right. So the L-Nutra is focusing on the second part of that building, providing end-to-end nutrition solutions. So for example, we part of our company has a medically tailored meal that is designed after longevity diet. So the modified Mediterranean makeup of food, actually in fresh food that gets sent to people's home. It's a company by the name called Nutrition for Longevity.
Okay.
We have, for example, and then we have another product, for example, that we know people worry about losing muscle, although the fasting mimic diet is really built on minimizing muscle loss, but some people need to build up muscle regardless. So we actually have a longevity protein. What that does is it supports muscle building, but on the other hand, does not accelerate aging. Now, you might say, well, that doesn't make sense. Well, what does it have to do? Well, you can imagine, right? When we fast, one of the most potent stimulator of nutrient sensing is actually amino acids. Mm-hmm. It tells the cell it's time to reproduce, it's time to grow. So when you wanted to activate stress resistance pathway, when you want to activate anti-aging pathways through fasting, you have to minimize that protein signal. Okay, that's the secret of the technology platform. But for the rest of the time, while you're not fasting, you want that muscle integrity, but at the same time, you don't want to keep revving that pro-aging pathways, just like the race car. You don't want to keep pushing, right, the pedal to the metal, right? So, or to the floor. So you want something that can support muscle at the same time, avoiding triggering these aging pathways, pro-aging pathways. A lot of pro athletes don't live longer.
Right. This is a very important point.
They train so hard, they eat so much, but it's not a formula for longevity. Correct. Right? And so even though they overconsume protein and so on and so forth, I mean, it really accelerates aging pathways. Right. I think this entire protein debate, we shifted away from carbs, we shifted towards protein. Yes. But just remember, protein is going to activate strongly many of the pro-aging pathways. I'm not saying that protein is bad. Again, it's not that simple. It's not a matter of what is good or bad.
Right.
That's exactly right.
And so please. Go ahead.
No. Also the quality, right? The quality of the amino. So what we did was we looked into the amino acid sequence and the source of the proteins to make sure that we organize the amino acids in such a way where it supports muscle without activating aging.
Nice. Yeah. That's wonderful. Yeah. And so the thought I had is that, so many of our weight loss programs and each step that we take in learning about, weight loss, longevity and all is a new fad. Back in the 80s, the 90s, it was, fat. Right? So then it was carbs and salt, and now it's no carb, and now it's, little carb but high protein, and we just keep fumbling and changing. We have to remember that it's just a matter of balance, moderation and balance. And the same thing with being a saint, eating like a saint all the time. No, it's a matter of moderation and balance. Now, one question I want to ask, though, kind of stepping back just a little bit, is about if you, with the race car, with the pit stops and with the body, consuming some of the bad particles that are, left over, that what if we don't do that? What happens? I think it's important for people to understand if we don't allow our bodies to take that time to consume the bad stuff that's underneath and have the autophagy occur, what happens to the body if you don't take that time?
Well, from a population standpoint, let's take a look at our society right now, right? I mean, our average age of survival isn't increasing. Yeah. Our longevity isn't increasing as a society, number one. Right. Number two, our overweight and obesity rate right now is about 70%. Yeah. And number three, back to where we started at the beginning of the conversation, 93% of all Americans have some sort of cardiometabolic health problems. Right. That's what happens when we don't take care of things. We just assume just keep eating good nutrition. But you cannot just keep every day running a marathon without a break. That's not good for your body. that continuous eating without a break also is not good for us.
Yes.
Now, because of our understanding of this and because of our unique angle looking at nutrition, using nutrition to drive healthy longevity, we also discover in this journey, when you're lowering the biological age with fasting mimicking diet and our solution, we also notice that diseases are getting regressed, meaning that many chronic age-related chronic diseases are also seeing a reversal.
Thank you.
For example, people with type 2 diabetes, when they're on multiple cycles of our program, they lower their A1C, they lost visceral fat, they lost some liver fat, they maintain muscle, they lost weight, they lost insulin resistance, and the number of medications come off.
Right. Thank you.
And through those observations, now we put together a program under L-Nutra Health. L-Nutra Health. This is a program where it's no longer about the products that we serve, but you put it all together.
Sure.
Having a dietitian to supervise and personalize the kind of nutrition plan a person needs to have.
Yes.
And even in our diabetes program, we have lifestyle medicine board certified physicians to de-prescribe or de-escalate diabetes medication for you. And that's the new offerings we're making available to the people in the world through this L-Nutra Health Metabolic Health Program.
Wonderful. And that, I tell my patients all the time that, it's fine, great. You want to take on weight loss and getting healthy, but a lot of people will tend to do that on their own with a nice Google search, ChatGPT search. And, what people need to understand is they need a support system. So you need a trainer, you need a dietitian, you need a good doctor that understands all this, can help you put it together. May even need a counselor, for some mindset work and
absolutely
stress and things like that. I mean, it takes what did they say? It takes a village to raise a child. Well, it does. It takes a whole team to raise a
get healthy
person, right? It does.
Yes.
And it sounds like that's what you guys with the L-Nutra Health are providing, which is fantastic.
Yeah. It takes a village to raise a centenarian. How about that?
There you go. I like that. I love it. It really is. It's very important. So, and thank you for reiterating that. I know I've asked you to kind of repeat some information that you'd already given, but I want people to understand and hear that, your body is a process. It's taking on the efforts, not just to build new, like you said, build new body parts and health and whatnot. You have to clean up the old stuff that has happened, that you've done to improve your health. And thank you for reiterating that.
Thank you. And I think, the new driver for the new movement these days are really about food is medicine. It's really about lifestyle. How do we call that lifestyle medicine? Because now we've recognized, Marianne, just like you've been talking all along, the body does have this ability to heal.
Yes.
But we gotta activate it. We gotta bring it out. These ability, when we get a cut on the skin, we don't do anything. We just put a Band-Aid on, keep it clean, because the body has the ability to heal. Yes. And we believe that metabolic health can be like this as well. Yes. The key is in our hand, and I like to bring that power back to the hands of our consumer and our patients.
Absolutely. And I do think that's what people are looking for more and more now. I'm glad it seems like we're entering a new age with medicine now, where instead of fighting it and resisting it, I think our voices have been loud enough and heard that we're starting to take a turn. The changes that have happened in Texas, for instance, now getting rid of food dyes, certain food dyes. And now, from what I understand, doctors are going to have to take nutrition courses in order to graduate medical school. I got none of that. Everything I've learned in the last 25 years was just because my own light bulb went on health, right? And had to do it all outside of medicine. So I do think the tide is turning. And I love that a company like L-Nutra is behind that as well, is a great voice to be heard. And I appreciate all of that. So I know we are going to stop short and take a break. I've got a great sponsor that I want to pay a little homage to, let them have their word, but we'll come back and talk a little bit more. Please give us information about where L-Nutra can be found and your products and information can be found.
And certainly, If you're looking to support your own health journey in terms of health, wellness, longevity, please go to prolonglife.com, PROLONLIFE, prolonglife.com. But if you are somebody that really wants to specifically address a metabolic health issue with the help of professional, right, in a program setting, please come to L-Nutrahealth.com, L-Nutrahealth.com. So L-Nutra is the company name. We added the health to signify kind of the medical arm of the company. So
I'm glad you did. And so, yes, and all of this information will be on drpbetterlife.com. And that's my website. So I'll make sure all of that is up where people can easily access it. But thank you for stating that. All right, we're going to take a very short break. Be right back on the other side.
Depression, anxiety, low energy, weakness, these are just some symptoms of low B12 levels. And the absorbable B12 folate supplement that's helping people declare victory over depression symptoms is De Novo Plus B12 by Magna Pharmaceuticals. Patients with symptoms of depression often exhibit low levels of folate and vitamin B12. The human body needs sufficient folate intake to produce the essential neurotransmitters serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. These neurotransmitters alleviate feelings of sadness, anxiety, and gloom. What makes De Novo Plus B12 so successful? De Novo Plus B12 contains readily absorbable folate and B12. That means it's more successful at correcting the root cause of your deficiency, not just the symptoms. Whether you are suffering with low energy, depression, fatigue, or anxiety, you owe it to yourself to learn more at magnaweb.com. That's magnaweb.com. Please let us know at checkout that you heard about De Novo Plus B12 on The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. I am Dr. Pinkston, and I'm here with Dr. William Hsu of L-Nutra and Chief Medical Officer, who has so kindly given us some time to talk a little bit about L-Nutra Health, a new program that you guys are now putting out there for patients who need help with nutrition. Again, nutrition is life. Nutrition is food. Nutrition is medicine. I love this, and so I'm glad you guys are doing that. And we've also talked a little bit about Prolon, the fasting mimicking diet, which we've talked about before, but we mentioned something a little bit earlier about protein. And I think that right now, again, we are on kind of the new fad of low carb, high protein. You mentioned about some of the detriments and consequences of doing that. Can you talk a little bit more about how balancing protein and muscle building can be better for longevity?
It's really when people are talking about how much protein and what kind of protein source, and so I think we always have the mindset that it's all about building, it's all about performance and strength.
Sure.
And a lot of people think that if you have that, you've got everything. But if your bottom line is a double bottom line, meaning that if you want to drive performance, yes, but you also care about longevity, yes, then you need to look through a different angle. See, it's a different debate, right? If you want to grow a huge amount of muscle, okay, this is how much you eat, this is and the source of protein. But when you want to look at what ultimately not only is supporting the muscle integrity, but also driving longevity, then you want to make sure that there is enough protein, but you also care about the quality of the protein, the source of the protein, right? And it is a different endpoint. Like if you want to be, for example, if you want to be a sumo wrestler, right, and to push it to the extreme, you need very different kind of protein requirement for that prime.
That's not living longer, right? You were correct.
That's not living longer, right? And so it's very interesting to the number of publications now, large population studies have looked at how people who consume a lot of protein, they may have very high IGF-1 level, okay? Mm-hmm. And IGF-1 level is actually a marker of longevity, a marker of aging. And it's a U-shaped curve. You don't want to have too low of IGF-1. You don't have too high of IGF-1. You want to be in that happy valley, much like body weight. You don't want to have too little body weight. You don't want to have too much body weight. And this is where the debate is a lot more nuanced than simply eat as much protein as possible, right? From every source. We happen to believe, and we're guided by a number of animal studies, but also population-based studies, and looking at the centenarians, for example, around the world, that we actually, the protein requirement during younger period of time is actually lower. But as we age, we need more proteins for building. And so that's one. Number two, we strongly advocate more plant-based protein, especially during the younger years. But okay to consume more animal protein as we age more, because the requirement against frailty as we age.
Absolutely.
And this is very much the principles inside the longevity diet principles. This is also advocated by Professor Waldo Longo at the USC, and he published a book called The Longevity Diet, which he really outlines his argument around these protein requirements.
Yes, great man. So he's actually kind of the force or the inventor behind L-Nutra, correct?
He is the founder. He's the discoverer or inventor of the fasting mimicking diet, and then this is because his mentor was in nutrition research, and his mentor did an experiment where they put I think 7 or 8 men into this biosphere. Remember it probably I believe in the maybe in the 80s or so, where they live inside that sphere, sustainable, everything, vegetation, water, everything's all supplied by this biosphere. And it was caloric restriction. You didn't have many sources, right, for food. Right. What he saw was that, my goodness, when they came out of the biosphere, they were terrible. They were in terrible shape.
Wow.
Their body was not healthier.
Wow.
And so that he kept thinking, you cannot just restrict nutrients for a long period of time. But many experiments show that when you restrict it periodically, it's actually great for health, right? It's like when you go to sauna. I mean, you don't want to be in sauna temperature all day long, but for that short period of time, it triggers the body's ability to do something.
Sure, which is amazing science, and there's a lot of science behind fasting mimicking diet and fasting Joe. Now, people make a lot of mistakes in fasting. So there's the different time restrictions. Some people do it for 12 hours, some for 16, and some do water fast. I've had people do 30-day water fasts. I don't know how they manage these things now. I'm like, oh my goodness. And so it really doesn't have to be that hard, and that's where the fasting mimicking diet, I think, has simplified it beautifully and recommend it highly. Now, with and back to protein, because the loss of protein, the frailty you mentioned, and the loss of protein and muscle over time is what aging is. You see the little older person who is frail and hunched and losing muscle and getting frail and thin, and that is the definition. And so, again, we're not looking at, I think most people aren't looking to be, God rest his soul, Hulk Hogan or Arnold Schwarzenegger or, athletes or marathoners. I mean, this is a small subset of the population. I think people really are just trying to look good, be healthy, live longer. And so this is a great way to proceed.
Yeah, and I think, especially given the popularity of the GLP-1 drugs these days for weight loss, studies have shown, for example, that class of medications, when it's done over a course of a year or a year and a half, people lose about 10% of their muscle. And that translates to about 20-year age-related muscle loss.
Absolutely.
So now you're driving weight loss, but you're also you're accelerating aging because you're losing that muscle mass. And so it's very important for those folks. We believe we offer a better way for weight care by using nutrition approach. But if you do choose to take the medication route, just remember exercise and proper protein supplementation to rebuild those muscles are going to be
very critical. And that's why you don't purchase your GLP through a company that, just provides it and doesn't provide you any coaching and support. And very, very important point. Thank you for bringing that up. And I think that is we're addressing more of a quick fix mindset. People who are, there's some desperate people. I know I was overweight at one point. I was very desperate too. I'm a doctor. I know how to do things, right? No, I didn't. And so it was a big learning process of how to do things correctly for people. So so the GLPs, you do lose a lot of muscle. Very important to get support in that. Absolutely wonderful information. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us all this. Is there any other thoughts? Anything else you want to speak to before we tie things up?
Marianne, I believe everybody wants to get healthy, and it's not that far away from us. I just want to encourage all your listeners to take a step forward. The body has the ability to heal. Seek the right source. If we could be of help, we'd like to be supporting you. And certainly, Marianne, you invite a number of great speakers every time on your podcast. I'm sure it's a source of a great wealth.
Thank you.
Of information. So, I encourage your listeners to take control, to take the first step.
Very, very well said. Yes, you can. It's not as hard and not as far away as you think. You are absolutely correct. Where can people find you? Can you repeat that information for us?
Yeah, so if you want a self-guided journey, it's prolonglife.com. But if you want some little bit extra personalized nutrition care by experts, come join us at L-Nutra.health.com.
Absolutely. I want everybody to know this is a company that I love. Jim Laval I'm medical director for one of his clinics in Texas, and he has always been very supportive of prolonged fasting mimicking. Well, absolutely. Great, fantastic man. And so I really love this company. I would not bring anybody to the forefront here unless I really believed in what you do. And thank you.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely. And everybody, you can find more information at drpbetterlife.com. And I hope everybody has a wonderful week. Thank you, Dr. Shu. Stay blessed.
You've been enjoying The Better Life with Dr. Marianne Pinkston. For more information, go to drpthebetterlife.com. That's drpthebetterlife.com. And listen next week for The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston.